feel like I should be doing something. Jazz hands. Is that how you do jazz hands?
Play air guitar. I'll play it wrong.
Whatever. Oh, it's over. And we're back with Truth Unrestricted, the podcast that is creating and interpreting the language of the disinformation age. I'm Spencer, your host, back again today with Patrick. How you doing, Patrick?
I'm doing good, Spencer. How you doing?
It's hot.
Yeah.
It's damn hot. I am glossy. The YouTube viewers will see I am sweating. I strategically tried to stay out of this room for as much time as I could before getting in here to start this, and then foolishly we talked for like 10 minutes with the lights and everything on, so that it heated me up that much more. So I kind of undid all my work there. But
and you can't really put a fan in because then it messes with the sound.
Yeah, messes with the sound. But although I could put a fan in before I start recording, so that when we're talking beforehand, at least I'm cooled off there, because
the last second,
and just turn it off just before. I mean, I'm talking about things I could have done and didn't do. Yeah. So, anyways, we are back. I do have a small bit of housekeeping on the ongoing saga of the am I getting the emails or not getting the emails thing. As people who are just joining us and haven't been paying attention this whole time will not know, I was getting emails that seemed to be from like an automated source, and then I was getting them regularly, like once a week kind of thing. A new supposed guest that wanted to show up on the podcast every week. I'd get a new one, and it would be two emails. It'd be one to like ask me if I wanted them to be a guest on the podcast, and then one later on, like 4 or 5 days later, I would get the follow-up email and be, just in case you missed it, this person is a guest. And I've been ignoring them mostly because they seem to be from an automated source, but also because most of them seem to be misunderstanding the point of this podcast. They seem to be from the unreality side of reality. And I am not ready to try to, I don't feel it's fair to like invite them and like hijack and be like, gotcha thing. And be like, no, you don't believe, like, I don't know. Yeah. Seems awkward and it's not really my thing. But then I mentioned it on the podcast and they stopped showing up. They just I stopped getting the emails. I thought, well, that's weird. Okay. And then I got like a couple. And then I mentioned that I got a couple that I stopped getting them. I started getting them again, and I mentioned that I started getting them, and now I've stopped getting them. And so I don't know. It's like someone is listening, and they're paying attention to these little things, and they're like, they're reacting to it somehow. That's what it feels like. I don't know. It could be just total coincidence. I don't know, but that's what it feels like. So I'm going to mention again that I've noticed that I'm not getting them and see what happens. I'm not going to say that I want the emails or don't want the emails, because at this point I'm kind of impartial to those particular kind of, whatever. But I think it's interesting that it feels like something is happening, and someone in the thing is clicking a button to like send them to me also, or I'm sure many other podcasts are also getting these emails.
You got to wonder.
Well, I'm sure. I think it's like an email list, and but it feels interesting to me that I'm mentioning it and then not getting the emails, and mentioning that I'm not getting them, suddenly I'm getting them again. I don't know what's happening, but
I wonder if it's just the podcast that mentioned their email address as a prompt to have people write in.
Okay, sure, but
like, where would people write in if they wanted to talk to you?
Well, they would send an email to truthunrestricted@gmail.com, and if you are a genuine person who is making a genuine observation and useful feedback about the podcast, I will send you your own unique picture of one of my pets. I have.
How will they know it's unique? Is it an NFT? I'm joking.
Yeah, I have a very cute dog and 4 very cute cats. Yeah, I got this idea because one time I had to send an email. There was someone who lived in Australia who had, I'm not going to say what my personal email address is. You know what it is, obviously, but I'm not going to say what it is. But I had someone from Australia with a similar name to mine. It was a woman named Spencer Watson, but her name had 2 N's. So in my
Oh.
email address, I was just getting email that belonged to her. And it was like I felt important email, whatever, but it was sent to me in error, and also what was a person she knew. And so I emailed that person that she knew, and I needed to find a way to like make sure they knew I wasn't like doing a scam of some kind or whatever. And so I told them that I had these cats, and I sent pictures of my pets to say like, look, I'm a real person. These are pictures of my real pets. And she
Yeah.
was
Would a
like,
psychopath just send you
yeah,
random pet pictures?
would a person impersonating a Nigerian prince send these things?
Right. Yeah.
And she was like, oh, that's so funny that you sent pictures of your pets to prove that you're a real person. And I was like, well, okay, well, this person that's sending these emails, the person
They think
isn't
I'm
getting
you.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah. They think that, can you correct the situation? Yeah. So I thought, well, yeah, that's an interesting way to do this. They're free for me. I don't have to put a lot of work into it. I love taking pictures of my pets, and you'll get your very own one that's not the same as what anyone else gets. By the way, no one has taken me up on this offer, and my pets are starting to feel like they're unloved. So
Aw.
yeah, do that. Do
People
that
write
thing.
in for the pets. For the pets.
Just do it for the pet
Yeah.
pictures. Like, who doesn't want pictures of cute animals? And know for yourself that they are actually really cute animals. So on with the podcast that we're actually doing today. We are doing I have this idea, and this is sort of what I do on this podcast. I have these ideas of these pieces of human life that affect our ability to see reality and affect our view of reality. And sometimes they're a thing that's like a way in which a person is dishonest or whatever, a logical fallacy that kind of slips through the cracks or doesn't have an actual name or whatever. This isn't one of those, but it is related. I'm calling it ironic righteousness, and I hope that the description of this will make sense, and that the name will then make sense with what I'm describing. That's what I hope. I don't know. I don't always hit the mark on these, but yeah. Patrick, have you ever had a situation where someone is telling you a story of the thing that happened to them, a negative thing that happened to them, like a negative experience they had, and they are what might be called uh, um, like overly righteous about it, like they've been wronged in some way, right? They're saying, this terrible thing happened to me, and don't you think this is terrible? And they want you to agree with them. But as they're telling the story, they're in the wrong. Like we have these anonymous places now on the internet where we say, am I the asshole? Right? So this is almost like someone should be writing this story to one of those am I the asshole things, but they're not. They're maybe like a friend of yours, and they know you personally, and they're telling you this story of a thing that happened to them there where they had some conflict or they were aggrieved in some way, and they say, don't you think that was a terrible thing that happened to me? Right? But the thing that they relate to you, the story they relate to you, is one in which they're actually in the wrong. And have you ever had this situation happen to you where you had someone that was a friend? I mean, did I ever do it to you? Because I think people do this from time to time, and in a lot of cases, it's fairly small things or whatever, and we kind of, say, yeah, that sucks or whatever,
I think when you describe this to me, there's a kind of a dynamic that where you look at one situation where somebody says, this person wronged me, and they're upset about it. But there's a difference between that simple, like someone wronged me and I'm upset, and the sense that someone wronged me, but they should have known better.
Yes, that's right.
That added little bit of seasoning to it where my pride gets involved.
Yeah.
And I'm not even able to see where I had an opportunity to either create a better outcome or at least own my part in it. Right?
Yeah.
So
right.
yeah, I have seen what you're talking about, I think.
Right. And I mean, I know someone that did this to me once, and what this person, the story they related to me is a big reason why I eventually added this topic to the list of topics to do on this podcast, and bother to come up with a name for it. And I know them, but they're not a friend on Facebook. I don't think they listen to this podcast, but maybe someone they know does. I don't know, because people I know listen to this podcast. I don't know. But so I'm dipping my toes across a sort of a personal reality line. I don't really care what this person thinks of me. Maybe someone else will recognize the story. I don't know, maybe. So
Well,
I
if the
once
particulars of the story stand out enough to
I'm gonna
spell out
try
who
to
it is
make
for
it
certain people,
as general
yeah,
as possible, so that it's not
sure,
like some people will who know me listen to this and be like,
yeah,
oh, that's so and so. Oh, dishing the dirt today, like,
yeah,
because that's not what this is really about. But I knew a guy once. Okay, he at the time he was a friend of mine, and this is the reason why he was telling me this story, was that he was living in a camper that was on the back of his truck at the time, and I asked him why he was living in a camper that was on the back of his truck, and he said that he had been. I was kind of catching up with him. I hadn't talked to him in a kind of a couple years or something. Um, he had been living in an apartment that his mom owned. His mom owned an apartment and was renting it to him.
mm-hmm.
And I don't know how much the rent was or whatever. I don't know. But he had
The
stopped
camper
paying
was
rent.
cheaper than
He'd
the mom
skipped
rate.
rent.
Yeah.
He'd skipped rent 1 month. And then the next month, like let's say January, he didn't pay his rent in January. February, he paid his rent, but he didn't pay January's rent. He just paid in February. So he was like a month behind in rent.
Mm-hmm.
And then his mom kept telling him, you got to catch up on his rent thing, whatever. And he was like, yeah, whatever. And just kept paying the rent. Is just, it's okay to just skip January. And she kept, every month she'd come to collect the rent, and he would, but he's telling me the story like, oh, well, I was behind in rent or whatever. And 6 months later, I was still behind the rent. And then she kicked me out. She evicted me. Although,
can you believe it?
yeah, in this "can you believe it" sense. Although he also said some bad words about his mother, which I also knew his mother. I mean, I knew him and I knew his mother, and I was like, the whole situation unfolding. I mean, we're also like not just the two of us talking. We're like at a party kind of thing, and there's many other people that both know both of us are there, and he's telling me this, and I'm like,
and you're like in your 30s, right?
Yeah, I was at the time. I think I was about 30. It's probably about 20 years ago, this story.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking to myself, like, what made you think that was okay? Like, and I thought to myself, like, I didn't say anything really. I said, I don't know, man. Like, what are you gonna do? Kind of like shrug it off and try to move away from the conversation. Like I was in the mode where I was there to have a good time. I wasn't really there to like get into it with anyone or whatever. And I was just like, I don't know, man, what are you gonna do? Like I was like, I don't know. But I was already at the point with this particular friend where I was like, I'd already gone like a year or more without talking to him, and I was pretty much done. I was like, I don't know, man.
Expectations were,
and I haven't
really
actually talked to him
depleted.
since that night 20 years ago. But I was thinking about it afterward, and I was thinking, like, he didn't have to tell me that he was behind in the rent. Like I didn't have any way of knowing that. I didn't have any way of knowing. He told me that part of the story on his own.
Mm-hmm.
Like he volunteered it. He didn't like, everyone has sort of a right to, tailor the version of the story they tell other people. And everyone does this to some extent. No one tells the complete unvarnished truth about their own life. I don't go around telling people about, what I look like naked in the morning. You know what I mean? Like, I don't do that.
Sounds like an opportunity, but
Well, I don't do that.
Truth
It's not.
Unrestricted, the OF version.
Yeah. After dark.
Yeah.
Truth Unrestricted after dark. Yeah. But I'm not that kind of person. I'm not, because it doesn't matter, but also it's, if I'm being perfectly honest, which I feel I should in this situation, I would like to, first of all, reserve who I be naked with, but also, I would like to sort of, in some kind of small amount of vainglorious fashion, I would like to preserve the mystery of maybe I look better than I would look when I'm naked. You know what I mean? Like that's part of
In
what
people's
wearing clothes is
imaginations.
about.
Yes.
Is
Yeah.
to
Sure.
be able to present yourself in some way that's not merely just what you look like naked.
I'm getting hot sitting here, dude.
Wow, is this affecting you? Oh, okay. Look, this particular metaphor will be over momentarily. Don't worry.
All
Just
right.
hold on for a
All
little
right.
longer, and then we'll take a break, and then
Have
we'll
a
come
cold
back. Yeah,
shower. Yeah, and we'll
yeah,
be back. All
yeah.
right, good.
But you know what I mean? Like, I don't try to give the full-on varnished truth about me. I'm sort of lying when I put these clothes on. I don't look exactly like this, right? Like, and that's part of the purpose of these. It's also to protect me from things in the world. But if that were the only case, I wouldn't need to wear anything that looked attractive, right? A collared shirt would not be necessary at all, but I do wear those. You know what I mean? Like, so he didn't have to tell me that part about, but he
He could
did.
have just said he liked how inexpensive it was to live in the camper. You'd be like, cool.
Yeah. Well, not only that, he wanted to tell me that his mother had evicted him wrongly.
That's bizarre.
And she, yeah. But you know what I mean? He didn't need to tell the truth about that part. He could have just left that part out. He's not even really lying. He's just not being fully honest by leaving it out. You know what I mean? Like, and this is a thing we do all the time in our daily lives. We leave out little parts all the time to make ourselves look a little bit better. But what do you think of this? What do you think of this concept that a person comes in, tells you the part that shows that they're wrong, but then still expects you to side with them about it?
It is purely deficient, because clearly this individual cares so much about what you think about the situation, your opinion about this particular event or circumstance, that they've gone to this length to tell you these details and then try to see if you have buy-in for their, like, empathizing with their side of it, when they didn't ever actually go through the steps to think about how this would sound to anybody, to know that, be like, oh, like, if anyone else told me that, why would I be thinking that's okay? Like, how does it ever sound okay? So it's weird when people try to like, they care enough about your opinion, but they don't project what, like, the natural result is going to be of telling you these details, right?
Yeah. One thought I have about this is that it forces a person to sort of, maybe it doesn't force, it encourages a person who gets told this story to make a sort of a choice between their, social relationship and their own level of, like, morality. You know what I mean? Like, and in this situation, humans being humans, we don't always, I would like to say that I always chose morality over friendship, but that's not true. If I'm honest, that's not true. There were times when I sided with my friend and allowed my moral framework to shift that little bit more to include their thing or whatever. And, like, that's but being able to point it out and to describe it so that we can maybe identify it and in the
Mhm.
future like do better. Like even that night,
Exactly. Yeah.
like full disclosure, that night I did get into a thing with him. It wasn't about that specific thing, it was about a whole different thing. But
Mhm.
I got to the point where I'd kind of had enough. I was, I don't know, like, fuck this guy, you know what I mean? I don't know, like,
Yeah.
but this this becomes almost like a wedge that sort of can push people out of what they would normally feel is good, and it actually can push people out of what they normally feel is real, you know, because people can come and be like, tell you a ghost story and then want you to be on board with their ghost story. I've had that a lot, actually. People who tell me a ghost story about, this house is haunted. There's sounds in the nighttime, and isn't that crazy? Don't you think that's so crazy that there's ghosts in this house? There's definitely ghosts in this house. You
Yeah.
think there are, right? Like, yeah, you're on board with me that there's ghosts in this house,
That's right.
and it sort of like forces you to either tell them that they're uh uh not seeing reality. It's just your house shifting. That's what the creaking noises are. Your
Yeah.
house
Yeah. Yeah.
slowly settles over time.
It's the
It has
rational
nails that
explanation.
make little noises when the thing shifts a little bit. It's uh it's just a thing that happens. It makes you choose between that and saying, oh yeah, hey, ghosts are real, man. Ghosts are, yeah, oh yeah, and
Watch
I'll tell
out.
my own ghost story now, just so I can fit in with this social conversation we're having right now. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I think it's a weird behavior, kind of, but it is a thing we do as humans. We will someone is bullshitting about a thing they once did, some crazy thing, and then they said, "Isn't that crazy?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah," and a similar thing happened to me. That's also kind of crazy, but also not really. You know, probably exaggerated to some degree. You know what I mean? Because that's the mood of the thing. You know,
Yeah.
everyone's kind of in that thing where they're exaggerating a thing they once did, and someone just volunteers their own story of a thing they exaggerated of a thing they once did. It's bigger than what really happened. You know, and I think that social atmosphere adds to our general level of willingness to accept unreal things, for starters. um, our general, it can add to an inability to know what's real in the end if there's too much of that in our world, and someone says, yeah, but viruses aren't real. And you as a person, me especially, I mean, as a person that's never done any level of training or schooling in biology, it'd be like, well, I don't know. Yeah, maybe they're right. Maybe they aren't real. Because what do I know? I don't know anything about, So it can make other even more egregious things seem like they're not so egregiously different from reality if you have these other steps involved that are,
Hmm.
almost slowly leading you from one thing to another.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
it takes a less amount of energy to get somebody to those little minute steps, right? Than it would to like
Yeah.
try and convince somebody of something enormously different than what they currently think.
Yeah. So I call it ironic righteousness because it often presents as righteousness in my experience that I've seen. It's a person who is uh, coming in as the aggrieved party, saying, "Don't you agree with me that this was a terrible thing that happened to me? Aren't you on my side in this?" Friend of mine, sort of thing. But once I was thinking about this, I was thinking to myself that in my situation, the one solid example that I have that I already related about this was from two peers, essentially. But then I thought to myself, what happens if the person telling the story isn't a peer? What if they're like a boss or something, right? Like,
Mm.
isn't this a new situation where we are sort of there's an added bit of pressure to agree to the unreal
Arrest.
thing being said, you know?
Mhm.
Um, I used to work in the oil field. I once sat through a hour-long safety meeting in which 45 minutes of it was a consultant who's for people who are not familiar with the oil field, the consultant is the person who's in charge on site. The consultant went on for 45 minutes during the safety meeting about how great Trump was and how great it would be if Trump just absorbed Alberta, and wouldn't it be great if the whole you know, all of us would all have big oil field jobs, or whatever the dream would be, or whatever it was, you know what I mean? And I just thought to myself the whole time, I was like looking around at everyone else, like, it was a big room too, it was a big job, it was probably 30 guys in that room, and I thought to myself, are you fucking guys buying this? Like, what
Yeah.
the hell's that? Like, we have to let him talk. It's his safety meeting. You know what I mean? He's paying for all the time. He's signing all the tickets. Um, no one's gonna tell him he's wrong, especially about politics. We're just gonna shut our mouths and let him talk, like whatever. But I was just looking around, and it's like, is anyone else like nodding in approval or smiling, or like what is this? What is happening right now?
Yeah.
Like, where am I? But he was going on just as if in what would really be essentially like his greatest Trump impression, because that was obviously the thing that he liked most in the world at that point. And it was really weird, man. It
Weird.
was really weird.
Yeah.
But of course, that wasn't quite the same situation because he wasn't telling the unvarnished truth about Trump. Like, if he had come in and said, you know, Trump, when he did that grab him by the pussy video, and I saw that, that was the moment where I knew this was my guy, or whatever, you know, like if he was saying things like that, it would be a different feel, right?
Yeah.
You know, all those things that Trump did that those stupid leftists think are terrible, aren't those things actually great? Like, oh, this, you know, that Epstein stuff really awesome. Like, you know, like, like what kind of a social atmosphere would that be where everyone's kind of like caught in this thing, like, yeah, I kind of don't want to agree with you, but you know, you're
Yeah.
kind of in charge of this work site we're on, and this is really fucking inappropriate. Like, you know, he didn't say that specifically, but I thought to myself afterward, like, how many people started to think, well, maybe it's not a bad idea if Trump just, you know, annexes Alberta, like what, like,
The way he
I don't
says
know.
it. Yeah.
The way he
Yeah.
says it, it seems like a good idea. Like, I don't know. The whole thing is so weird when you get in those situations where you have a person that's, uh, uh, well, we're all just citizens, but in that situation at work, he's in charge, which is exactly why all the political talk is inappropriate at that time. You know what I mean? Like, it's complete. It's not helping us do the job. You know, like, we're up there, we're at the wellhead, and we're, you know, running a hammer wrench or whatever, and saying hail Trump while we do it is never going to help us do the job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Saying fuck Trump is also not going to help us do the job. None of that's going to help us get the job done. It just doesn't belong in a workplace. I don't know. The whole thing is inappropriate, but everyone, all the service companies want to get invited back. So none of them are going to write that letter to the oil company and say, this guy's out of line. Because that's not how the oil field works. They all just swallow it and accept whatever's there so they can get the next job.
Whoever's at that, the peak of the chain of the command gets to say
Yeah,
whatever they
gets to
want.
say whatever they want, and it's this weird quasi, situation where you get sometimes you get a consultant on site that thinks he's a influencer or something for a political thing that he wants or whatever, and you're like, okay, whatever, dude. You want to do an hour-long safety meeting? I don't give a shit. Yeah, I don't know. Weird situations that we get ourselves in. But you have any other thoughts on this, Patrick?
No, not really. It's
No, not
it's
really.
always entertaining in a way when you see people that like just to go back to the picture painted by this title, is the ironic righteousness, where people just are so outraged or out of sorts about something that it's like, yeah, but it's you.
Yeah.
It's you.
You're the one.
Like,
yeah.
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 That's...
You see people who essentially walk in, I mean, metaphorically speaking, of course, but they like walk into a restaurant, kick over the first table they see, then say some like outlandish things about, you know, whatever political thing they believe in. And then when they're ushered out, they proclaim that you don't let free speech, you're silencing me for the crazy thing I said. And the whole time it's like, no, dude, we don't want you kicking over tables. Like,
yeah, you're just an animal.
Yeah, you're just an asshole. I don't know, you know, like you can't be here. Go say that stuff somewhere else. I don't know. Yeah, but that's essentially how a lot of these things are. People in the childish way. Like I did it when I was a kid, you know. I did something wrong, and then I had to, you know, talk to my mom about it, and I tried to tell her the version that wasn't true, and she saw right through it and said, no. Come on.
Yeah.
Tell me the truth. Tell me the whole truth. I already know. I just want you to tell me. And people do that online all the time, where they will go and they'll do a whole bunch of things that are wrong, and then they'll say, oh, they just don't like me because I said some things they don't like, you know, because I believe in the opposite of their thing or whatever. And it's like, well, actually, you were kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe if you weren't an asshole all the time, maybe other people, you know.
Have you thought about not being an asshole?
Yeah.
Maybe that's right for you. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe I should get like, I know what I should do. I should get like a GIF, like an infographic sort of thing, where it's like a how to not be an asshole. Like, have you considered just not being an asshole? Like,
yeah.
And I could just send that to people. I could put it in a post or whatever and be like, you know, have you considered not being an asshole at this particular time? Yeah. Anyway, there's people I still don't talk to and probably will never talk to again in the world. Sorry, not sorry. Okay. Anyway, yeah, we'll move on from this brush with drama. And signing off. Till next time.
All right. Good talk.
Still have no pets from the camera.
I'm looking for... No, my kids aren't here.
Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel to get more content like this. Special thanks to Jeff Powell for the intro and outro music handcrafted with real guitars. Please send all feedback to truthunrestricted@gmail.com.